Okay, this is Future State of 42. This is going to be the top five most valuable records that I have, and we're just going to get started right away. I had to cut the video into two parts. It was going really long, so this is the top five. Okay, now we're down to the last five records. Number five, this is a record store release, and record store day release, and I almost didn't get this record. On record store day, I wasn't sure about it. So, and I think when I got into Lunchbox, I think I went to Lunchbox this year that this album came out, and when I got in there, I think it was sold out, and then I called around, and it was sold out everywhere. So I started looking for flippers, on eBay, and I ended up getting this for like 40 or 45 bucks. I ended up paying not that much more than retail. It was definitely bumped up like 10 or 20 bucks, maybe 15 bucks. But I ended up getting it for like 40, 45 bucks. And this is Robin, Body Talk. This album is fantastic. Another artist that I just love. Robin is amazing. I love Robin and her stuff. Her songs are great on here. This is a great album. It's a double album set on white vinyl. And yeah, I ended up getting it on eBay auction. I think it was a buy it now too. And I just, I had it on my search, and it just, every time it popped up, I would try to get it. And this is like a compilation kind of record, because she put out a bunch of EPs, and there's a few, I think she put out Body Talk 1 and Body Talk 2, which were like 6 or 8 song EPs. And this is kind of a compilation of those with, I think, some extra tracks even. This is really the only Robin that you need for that whole Body Talk, releases. And I think that's why this is, very coveted and wanted. And I have her first album too, because they came out on Record Store Day like the next year on Red. That one's not as expensive, but this one definitely is. Okay, so this one, yeah. There's 2,500 copies of this one in the white. I don't know if there was another. I don't think there was another color for the Record Store Day release, and I don't think this has been reissued since. So the average price in 2022 that this sold for on Discogs is $149. So that was the average. There's one currently on there for $148. But the last one that sold, somebody paid $175. Now, I don't know if it's because there just isn't, it's not popping up very often, and they just got desperate. They're just like, fuck it, $175, I guess that's what I'm paying. And I talked about that in my last video where, we all have those artists where money sometimes isn't an object, sometimes it's just like, as soon as it pops up, because it pops up so incredibly rare, or infrequent, that you just move on it. So maybe that's what happened, where the person just wanted it for $175. They're just like, fuck it, I'm paying it. I'm paying whatever. Yeah, so that's what it's going for. Fantastic album. Robin is great. She's a great artist. Really enjoy her stuff. Now this one is a little controversial, kind of, just because of the reason why it's expensive. This is an album that was pressed originally, and a bunch of copies made, mass production basically. And then a controversy happened, and then this album kind of just stopped being pressed. And then they redid the album, like the cover, the actual records and everything, and repressed. And there's a new repress out there with a song missing from the album now. So a song was removed from this record on the new presses of this album. And that is the Lady Gaga Art Pop record. And this is the album with the R. Kelly song. So the R. Kelly song was deleted from the record. Do What You Want featuring R. Kelly. I don't know if you can see that or not. Do What You Want featuring R. Kelly. So that's the deal on this record. And that's why this one is expensive. And the interesting thing for me, at least, when I bought this record from Amazon, one of the albums was warped, and it was skipping because of the warp on the first track. So I requested a new copy, and I got one, and the new copy was good. Another foil cover. And this comes on double black. I don't know if there was a color or not. There might have been. So anyway, this was my replacement copy. And I had to send the other one back, I guess. I can't remember. I think I did. Yeah, I had to send it back. And yeah, so this record has gone up in value because of that, because that R. Kelly song is not on there anymore, and it probably never will be. I mean, that guy went to fucking jail, so he was 100% convicted. So it wasn't, there is no question of, he said, she said at this point. He's a, pedophile. So yeah, I think rightfully, that song was removed from this album. And yeah. So anyway, because of that, though, this is now a collector's, kind of version. But there's a ton of these out there. It's not like I don't think that these are hard to get because there were so many pressed. But people are obviously hanging on to them. Anyway, the average price that this record sold for in 2022, $154. So let's go for about $150. And the last one that sold was 150. No, the current low, there's one up there now for 154 as well. So the average and what one of them is available. Somebody must have maybe did the average and priced their record accordingly. But there's the last one sold, in the list, 180. So this album can go anywhere from 150 to 180. It kind of bounces around. Yeah, so that's what this one's sitting at right now, and that's why it's expensive. And it's a good record. This is probably my second favorite Lady Gaga record. Yeah, Art Pop is great. Lady Gaga Art Pop with R. Kelly on it. All right, next album is and that was the number 4. Next album is number 3 on the list of my most valuable records. This record's kind of worth it. It's really cool. And I got this on clearance at FYE for $20. And I bought it, and it was always on my list. When I first started buying records in 2016, 2017, I saw this record there. I was like, oh, cool, this album, maybe I'll get it, someday eventually. And one day, there really wasn't anything else in there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pick it up. I'm finally going to get it. I think it ended up in clearance. So it convinced me. And this is the number 3. And that's Heaven and Hell with Dio, Iommi, Butler, and a piece. The Devil You Know. Yeah. Dio's last album, last recorded material. As far as studio is concerned, I believe there's a live where they recorded this live as well. So fantastic record. It's a very good sequel to the Dio era Sabbath. Renaming it Heaven Hell isn't really a problem for me. It's a really good record. I love Ronnie James Dio. I just saw his documentary, and this is on the colored vinyl. Each album, and then one of these albums has an etching on the other side. So it's just the 3 3 records, 3 sides, which is good. They didn't overdo it. They probably could have done a 4th side, but they didn't really necessarily need to. I don't think. And I like that. I appreciate that it's only 3 sides. It's definitely enough music for 3 sides, so that's a perfect way to do it. Yeah. So this record is number 3. On average, this sells for 160. There is one on there now for 190, which I think is crazy. That's way too expensive. And the last one sold was 110. So on average, this one kind of goes up and down. I mean, anywhere from 110 to 190. That's a big difference. Great album. Dio Sabbath. Basically, this is a Black Sabbath record. The Dio years, but a more modern one at number 3. Oh, and there's a poster in here, so I still have the poster in there too. And that's number 3. Number 2, Rockley Records. We've come to this. This was the sale of the century for me. I basically stole this record from Rockley, unfortunately. I stole it in a completely fair way. And there was no way to predict the value of this record or what it sold for on Discogs recently. This technically, because there's only one sale in 2022 of this album, this is my second most valuable record according to Discogs, because it sold for an amount that is ridiculous. Maybe not, but it sold for a lot in 2022. One of this album sold. And I had this on my search for eBay, my notification search, and it popped up, and I was like, oh shit. And the reason it popped up is because I watched the movie. I'll put the name of the film at the bottom here. I watched the movie that a song on this album is featured in during the credits. And I was like, oh shit, I fucking like that song. That's cool. I really dig that song. I'm going to put this album on a list. And if it pops up, I'll see. And I think on Discogs, it wasn't like on the list. They're like, it's very rarely for sale or whatever. I don't know. But this popped up on eBay, I think not too long after, like maybe within the same month or less. And popped up, I bid. I don't think I overbid. I just bid like a comfortable amount. And I think I was the only bidder. Maybe some other, maybe there was, I honestly think I was the only bidder, which is surprising because of how much I got it for versus what it sells for. Now, I got this record, and I this is funny because I think I told this story already from another, when I talked about the Black Sabbath Dehumanizer. But at the time that I was bidding on this record, Rockley has a different username for eBay, so I didn't make the connection. And we had been chatting kind of over, I think it was at that time just over YouTube, maybe Instagram. And, I knew him as Rockley, so I didn't even pay attention to the seller of this album on eBay. And I win the auction. So he messages me. He's like, hey, are you, Sador, did you just, a person with this username just bought a record for me. Is that you? And I'm like, which record? He tells me which record. I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, that is. I'm like, holy cow. And he messaged me right then and there. He's like, you got a deal. He's like, this record, at the time even, I think he was hoping to get, a decent amount. But he had started the bidding so low. And like I was saying, with these type of albums, the ones that can get way up there, or even just this particular band in particular, because there's not a ton of fans for this album. I mean, this album was only pressed on 150 for this color, this version. So you really got to find that buyer who really wants it. And if for some reason the guy that has this album on his list is on vacation or whatever, or misses the email, or doesn't see, the auction or whatever, you're going to get no bids. And it's hard to say if a lot of people are looking for this or not. I don't think a lot of people are looking for this album. But anyway, I basically got it for like way low. I won't even say. I got it incredibly cheap. And I was incredibly lucky, and I thank Rockley for, going through with everything. And at the time, I don't think that either of us knew. I mean, that we would not know that it was sold for this much in 2022, because I bought this, back in like 2020 or something like that, or 2021. I can't remember. And that is the Skull Fist record. This is Chasing the Dream. This album is really cool. I dig it. It's kind of like a new wave British heavy metal, kind of hard rock, kind of glammy. And it comes on the clear vinyl. There was only 150 pressed on clear. And the song Bad for Good was the song in the movie. And it played during the credits. And it's a great song. I believe it's Bad for Good, yeah. Great, great, great song. And the album is really good. It's not like my favorite album, but it's not my not favorite album. It's a really good record. It's probably Skullfist's. It might be their best record. Anyway, fantastic album. Number 2 most valuable record. And only because one person in 2022 purchased this album off of Discogs for $168. Yeah, that's how badly they wanted the album. And I think mostly it's just because, like I said, if you got this on your list and it pops up in an email once a year, and you're waiting for it, you're probably just going to jump on whatever price is on there. You might email the guy and be like, or the seller, and be like, hey, would you take this? They may or may not answer, who knows? Or if there is no make offer, 168. The last time this sold on Discogs was 2018. So I didn't even count that price, because it was probably, I don't know when this album come out. 2014. So I wouldn't say it was new, but it was not, a classic or anything like that. And it might have been before the movie. I can't remember when the movie came out. So yeah, 2018, I think it was only like $30-$40, whatever, like a normal regular price. So it would have made no sense to count that. I didn't look at the eBay or the Pop Psych sales. I probably should, in order to make this list even more accurate, I probably should have combined Pop Psych and Discogs, but Discogs was easier. $168. Wild. Second most valuable record that I have. Only because of that, right? Who knows if it would sell again for that price? I mean, if I put it up there now for $170 or $150, would I have to sit on it for a month, a year, forever? I don't know. I don't know if anybody would buy it. I probably should look at the Pop Site, see if it's ever popped up again on eBay. But with only 150 on the clear, yeah, you probably got to consider that, a percentage of those are probably just damaged out, like don't exist, lost, whatever. And then the rest of them people just want to keep, or don't know what they have or whatever. Or sitting in, it could be sitting in a record store somewhere in the bin. Everybody keeps flipping through it and not even paying attention. Who knows? Anyway, that's number 2. Now, I told you I would surprise you. Now, maybe you're going to be surprised, maybe you're not. I'm not, kind of, because of, I guess the history behind this record. So my number one most valuable record, and my records it doesn't go up. I'm not going to say, oh, I got $1,000 record. I sold my $1,000 record, which was a RSD Taylor Swift 1989. I sold that for $950 at Lunchbox. He took a cut. I took the rest. I made like over $700 on that sale. Unbelievable. That would be my number one. That would be a big jump from this. So, yeah, when I had a record that was worth $900, I got rid of it as quickly as I could. Especially knowing that it was, I could sell it for that, and it was readily available on black, vinyl in 1989, and I know that Taylor's version's coming out as well, so I'm not worried about getting those songs back on a vinyl. I just didn't need. I'm not a collector of Taylor Swift stuff, and that was a hand numbered copy. Anyway, the most expensive album that I have right now in my collection is, drum roll, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Mondo release of the musical episode Once More with Feeling. This is a fantastic record. I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I always have been. I've loved Buffy the Vampire Slayer since it was airing in season 1 of, on WB. And this is a season 6. They did there were a couple other TV shows that did musical episodes, and Buffy kind of jumped on that and did one. But almost everybody could sing on here, and they did a great job. It's a great, great album. It's a great, great episode. This is the only vinyl pressing that's ever been made of this. It was available, I think it was available on CD at one point, or downloads or whatever. And it comes with a playbill, but they call it a sleigh bill. It has, everything about the record, the lyrics, so you can follow along to the story. I know all of it by heart. And there is and one of the reasons why I think this record is so expensive right now is because, and that there's a possibility that this won't be repressed, at least anytime soon, is because Joss Whedon is kind of in a place where he is kind of, I hate to use the word canceled, but, he's kind of, on the outs with Hollywood at this point, and with his fans, there's kind of a relationship there that's kind of problematic right now. The guy has some issues. So Joss Whedon is a huge part of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of course. He wrote this album. He wrote all these songs with his brother and stuff. And, so it wasn't just him, but it was mostly him. So he is a huge part of the creative process of the show and of this record and of this episode. So you really can't separate him completely, but everybody that contributed, the cast of Buffy, the musicians that played, you can't, I always say, you just can't punish everybody for one person, yeah. This record, I don't know how many were pressed, but on average in 2022, this sold for $195. There's one up there now, or the one that last sold was $200. There's 2 available right now, and they are priced at $400, which I do not think they will sell for. Now, they might. There are fans of this album, fans of this TV show that might consider paying that. But I ran into this with my Taylor Swift RSD. I put it up on Facebook Marketplace, tried to sell it there. I tried to sell it just for $400, right? Half of the current asking prices. No, I think it was like 5 or 6 I was trying to do. The most that anybody offered me was like $400, I think. And I was like, I don't know. I just can't do it. And I didn't feel good about shipping and all that stuff. So, something that was that expensive and selling to somebody, I mean, they could have just said, nope, it was completely damaged and, you have to pay me back, and never get the album back. I don't know. I was worried about that. So I didn't accept any of the offers I was getting behind the scenes. And that's when I went up to Lunchbox and I said, look, do you want to sell this, Taylor Swift record for $900, $950 in your store? You can take a cut. I'll take a cut. I'm still going to make more money than I would on Facebook because I already tested the waters, and people who, were interested were offering me a certain amount, and it wasn't enough for what the record was actually selling for. And I wasn't looking at, what it was, I looked at the sold, so I knew that people paid a certain amount of money for that record at that time. And I think it's even more expensive now. So I knew I could get a certain amount of money out of it. And I wanted to try, I told the guy at Lunchbox, I'm like, hey, look, we'll put it up for a little while, see what happens. I ended up selling it like the next day. It was record store day, so it was good that he put it up on the Instagram and everything. People in the comments went nuts. They were all pissed that it was so expensive. He defended that price. Look, people are paying this price, so that's what it's worth. That's where we talk about the value of these records. If enough, not just one person, if enough people buy something at a certain price, it becomes, especially in a collectible, marketplace, it becomes worth that value. And that's why I don't know if this is worth $400. It's definitely worth, like, I would have a hard time passing this up at $250. I really would. I like this album that much. It's really cool. I'm so glad though that I bought it from the website when it came out. I was not, I did not. I got the email I get Mondo emails. That's one thing that I recommend, guys. Sign up for all these mailing lists, even if you're getting spammed. These things are gonna pop up, and you're gonna be like, I am so glad that I got this email that the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Once More with Feeling episode is coming out on vinyl, and I'm gonna buy it immediately when it's available. That one record or two records a year that might pop up in a list might be worth getting those emails. I don't know. It was for me. And I love this record. And it's great. Controversy and all. I still love the album. Those are my most valuable records. And my most valuable record is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Once More with Feeling soundtrack for the episode Once More with Feeling from season 6. Thank you for listening to my rants and all that stuff. If you're watching the video. Yeah, thanks. Bye.